Hello YouTube, it is your boy B3 back with another kicking graphic novel review. Today we are reviewing some more of IDW's Godzilla stuff. IDW had a lot of great miniseries in its time with Godzilla, and at the time of recording this, IDW is actually about to start releasing their next Godzilla series after a long hiatus. I'm glad it's coming back because I really appreciated the IDW Godzilla stuff. Today we're looking at Godzilla, the Half-Century War. Quick read up of the back of the book, introducing a new and exciting look at Godzilla's reign of destruction, courtesy of James Stokoe, something like that. I'm sorry. The year is 1954, and Lieutenant Oda Murakami is on hand when Godzilla makes first landfall in Japan, along with his pal Kentaro. Ota makes a desperate gamble to save lives, and in the process begins an obsession with the king of the monsters that lasts 50 years. It's actually... okay, so technically it's 48 years, I think, because it goes from 1954 to 2002, which is 48 years. It's not 50 years. But it's a very interesting read about one man who was there when Godzilla first rose out of the sea, and was there when Godzilla defeated, and was there for really every appearance of Godzilla. Story and art by James Stokoe, color artist Heather Breckle, series edits by Bobby Curnow. Just lots of fun people working on this book. It starts off with Godzilla appearing in Japan in '54, and this young soldier who signed up after the war to kind of get some adventure gets a little more than he bargained for with Godzilla. They actually save a ton of people from Godzilla, just him and his tank driver, his best bud. They save an enormous amount of people from Godzilla all on their lonesome with just one tank and just their skills. Pretty incredible. But then Godzilla is defeated with the oxygen destroyer, but several years later, Godzilla reappears. And they're like, we don't know if it's the same one, we don't know if it's a different one, we can't use the oxygen destroyer again. If you've seen the 1954 film, you know why. But then he's like in Vietnam, headed towards Saigon during the Vietnam War. And he's like left his territory zone, and he's just crashing through mountains instead of going around them and stuff, and he's acting very strange. And he's acting strange for two reasons. One, Anguirus is there. Anguirus is there. It's fitting that Anguirus was the first of the other kaiju to appear in this book, since he was the first kaiju Godzilla ever fought in the movies, or in anything. So he has a really cool fight with Anguirus. But it turns out there is a signal broadcasting that attracts kaiju. It's suspiciously a lot like the Orca alpha signal in King of the Monsters. But King of the Monsters came way after this book. Very interesting. I don't think King of the Monsters ripped this off. It's just a very similar idea. But yeah, and then we head on to the next city, and they're in like Africa, and there are a ton of monsters all in the same place. Batra, Rodan, Megalon, Kumanga, Godzilla, Ebra, Hedorah, Mothra. All these monsters in one place, just beating the crap out of each other, because there is a kaiju attracting signal going off. Turns out the scientist that made it, it was actually originally supposed to be a signal that pushed kaiju away, but then it didn't work, and he disappeared along with all his research, and he's kind of selling it to countries and dictators and despots and stuff on the black market so they can attract kaiju, and this huge multi-kaiju attack in Africa is actually a demonstration he's putting on. He sacrificed tons and tons of lives to put on a demonstration to just make a bunch of money. But they find him, they try to stop his signal, but he cranks it up all the way so that the kaiju come even closer, and they start going directly for the signal instead of fighting each other, trying to figure out where it's coming from. They don't catch the guy. We go forward in the future. Super Mechagodzilla is dropped. It's the first Mechagodzilla of this world, and Godzilla fights it. It does a lot of damage. It's a tough fight. They run into that scientist. They capture him, but then they see he has a new kaiju attractor, and it's like huge, and it's strong enough to send the signal out into space, and it attracts Space Godzilla. So now Godzilla and Super Mechagodzilla have to fight Space Godzilla, who we all know is an incredibly powerful psionic with Godzilla's abilities and more. And even further into the future, Kiru is being built, the first version with the blue kind of jetpack. And it turns out when that signal went into space, it also attracted King Ghidorah and Gigan, and the world is almost completely destroyed at this point. King Ghidorah and Gigan, lots of the kaiju, they had their own territories, and they had like a sense of balance with nature because they were from nature. Very much like the Titans in King of the Monsters. Once again, very similar to the 2019 King of the Monsters movie. How odd. Once again, I don't think they ripped it off. It's because it's all, the same thing. It's all Godzilla. And these concepts aren't really new on their own anyways. But, so these space kaiju show up, invasive species, just run amok across the planet. And they actually have the Dimension Tide, the black hole gun from the Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla film. And they're going to use the black hole gun on Godzilla, King Ghidorah, and Gigan when they fight. And Mechagodzilla's going to go in, get them all in the line of fire so that they can shoot a black hole at them. The guy who has been our main character throughout this actually knocks out the young pilot who is going to pilot Mechagodzilla because his whole life has been about Godzilla, and he doesn't know what his life is going to be without Godzilla. So this day, when they defeat Godzilla, his life ends one way or another. So he has to make the sacrifice play, because whoever's in Mechagodzilla, they're almost certainly dying too. There's really almost no way out. It is a suicide mission. Godzilla and Kiru do end up getting Ghidorah and Gigan in the way of the black hole. They are absorbed. Godzilla's not in the way, so Kiru and Ota, they grab Godzilla and they fly into the black hole with him. And it seems to be over. But it's really not, because at the end of the book we see Godzilla Scoot's spines, coming up out of the water. So Godzilla lives on. I kinda gotta say, didn't like the little thing at the end where it showed that there was at least a Godzilla still around, because it made the sacrifice of the main character feel like it was in vain. Because if the plan was to leave Godzilla alive and throw Gigan and Ghidorah in, he would have got out of it alive. But he sacrificed himself to get Godzilla off the planet and rid the world of the last kaiju, the most powerful kaiju. And then at the end, Godzilla's just still around. Come on, it's a mini-series, it's its own continuity. If it feels cheap. It makes it feel like his sacrifice was pointless at the end of the book. And that's not cool. We follow this character through, quote-unquote, 50 years of his life, his huge battle with Godzilla, and it ends with him sacrificing himself for nothing? Fuck that. So I don't like that aspect of the ending. If that was cut off, I would think this book was amazing. But that one thing just really throws a wrench in the gears, man. Even though it's the end of the story, it's still really... It's like, ugh, why did you do that? Why did you do that? They never returned to the continuity, so it never served a purpose. It's okay to have Godzilla be defeated, guys. It's okay. It can happen. It happened in his first appearance. It's alright. I hate how it's like Godzilla's invincible and nothing can kill him, even when it makes the most sense for the story. If Godzilla is invincible, then his victories don't mean anything. You see what I'm saying? The Godzilla fan base is a lot like the Superman fan base, where they're like, nothing can beat them ever because they're the best. And narratively, of course, they're going to win because both those characters are usually portrayed as the good guy in modern times. Or at least the best case scenario when it comes to Godzilla. He's usually, if you have to have one kaiju survive, you usually want it to be Godzilla. But not always. I prefer him as a villain, just FYI. Like he is in this book. A villain that's a force of nature. I prefer that very much. Antagonist, all the way. But it just makes the story feel like shit, especially if it's a separate continuity from the main series and you're not going to revisit it. Just kill Godzilla in the end, you know? Just kill him. Just murder him. It's fine. I don't know if they had plans to revisit this continuity and just never did, but with the main character dead, what's the point? You know, So I didn't like that part of the ending, and it kind of made a lot of it feel pointless. It made the whole book really feel pointless. But now let's talk about the art, which is absolutely fantastic. The characters themselves are kind of drawn in this rough anime style, and the kaiju are drawn with such insane detail that they're quite epic looking. Sometimes Godzilla's face looks a little weird. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes the eyes seem like they're not in the correct places almost when he's like turning his head and stuff. I don't know. It's like the artist was trying to make sure we saw both his eyes, no matter how his head was turned, and sometimes it just made it look awkward. But other than that, the art was pretty much perfect. It's got a lot of great like variety of color, and I like lots of the fading to different colors. It's very epic art, and the kaiju fights just look absolutely insane. But the characters' faces are also incredibly expressive. And that is it for Godzilla the Half-Century War miniseries from IDW Comics. Just 5 issues altogether, I believe. And it's definitely worth reading, even though that ending just really pisses me off. So that's it. Thank you all very much for your support. Remember to rate, comment, subscribe. Check out all the cool links in the description below, Facebook, Twitter, etc. And I'll see you all next time.